And you.
Thanks.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. My name is Jane Roberts. I'm the Customer Services Manager with Service Quality, and I have the pleasure of introducing this webinar today on Greg's behalf. Greg unfortunately could not be with us today. He is on a plane travelling somewhere. So firstly, welcome and thanks everyone for investing the next half hour to 45 minutes to join us for the webinar. Our goal today is to introduce you to a highly innovative reporting solution, Westbury SMI. During the webinar, if you would like to ask a question that you feel needs to be answered as part of the session, can you use the raise a hand facility, please? And alternatively, if you want to ask a question that can be answered at the end of the session, if you'd like to just type it into the chat box, then we can pick these up at the end. So you may be asking, why is Service Quality introducing this Westbury session today? And the answer to that would be that we have been in conversations with the team at Westbury for the last 6 months, running through a trial of the solution to see if our customers might find value in the product. We've asked all of the typical questions: does it do what they say it will? Would the solution provide value to a Cherwell customer, and so on? And we've been very impressed with the results. In the meantime, Westbury has also been appointed a partner with Cherwell in the States on their very selective Technical Alliance Programme. Service Quality and Cherwell only partner with technologies that have the potential to enhance our customer experience, and we're very selective, and that's why Cherwell is our main product. We only ever partner with a handful of other technology providers, and again only when we believe that it will enhance the solution and provide value that exceeds the investment. So after that very short overview, I believe that the product will speak for itself, and I'll hand over to Jack, who will be showing you all the exciting stuff about Westbury SMI. So over to you, Jack.
Thank you, Jane. A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Jack Schaper. I'm a consultant with Westbury in the Netherlands, based in Amsterdam. I'll be doing the actual demonstration, but just a couple of slides before we show the tool. Westbury was founded some 17 years ago in Amsterdam. We are located both in the Boston area in the US and in Amsterdam, as I said. We are partnering all over the world with various companies, providing our solution to various customers, and also we directly deal with some customers around the globe. We've been an HP software partner for a long time. That's actually where we were coming from that area. And our mission is to provide IT organizations with business intelligence solutions that transform data into meaningful information and improve processes and performance. So really all IT related data. Now this session obviously focuses on Cherwell data, but also a little bit on data outside of Cherwell, but related to the Cherwell data. So let me tell you a little bit about how we see this. At the bottom of the pyramid here is the operational reporting. Now, obviously, you all know that Cherwell provides its own reporting capabilities and does that quite well. So let's call that the in-tool reporting. Gives you real-time access or near real-time access to product data. The users of the reports are the same people that actually use the tool itself, and it's embedded within the product. On top of that, when you want to expand on that, is where SMI can step in. So really we're talking about management reporting, tactical reporting, where you want to combine data from various systems into single reports, where you maybe, if you look at specifically at Cherwell data, want to enrich that data with calculations and computations, specific durations, performance indicators, all kinds of metrics and KPIs that don't come with the tool or are complex to create with the tool, and we can all provide that with SMI. Also distribution is a part of that, creating reports that are sent out to the right people at the right time with the right content. And obviously on top of that, the strategical part of things is the dashboarding capabilities that come with SMI, various business value dashboards, persona-based dashboards, a library that comes with the tool of various KPIs and metrics that obviously is aimed at more higher level people within the organization, the C level, as it's called, the executive officers or at that level. So let's focus on the tactical and the strategical side of things in this presentation. I'll talk through the architecture very quickly. It's a high-level architecture. It's not technical at all, and we'll go into the actual tool. Before I do that, let me just check if there are any questions or hands raised, and that's not the case, so I'll continue. So really on the left-hand side are the source databases. Now, the way that SMI works is that we have various out-of-the-box models for various tools like Cherwell, but also a project portfolio management from HP, asset manager from HP, various other ITSM tools for which we have out-of-the-box models. And an out-of-the-box model means that we have modeled the reporting fields from the source application. We've created reporting universes on top of those, and there's a set of startup reports or out-of-the-box reports based on ITIL and a lot of experience that come with those models, those solutions. But apart from that, it's also possible to really get data from any relational database like MS SQL, Oracle, DB2. So any other system that you have within your organization that contains data that you want to include in your ITSM reporting, where data can be enriched from various sources. But also if you want to create separate reports on other systems that you have, it's also possible to use SMI for that. So that's the source side of things. Then comes our tool, and really SMI consists of two parts. One is the SMI data designer, which is basically backend, what the administrator uses. That revolves around a reporting database. That reporting database is fed with data from the various source systems. That data is extracted, loaded into the reporting database. Any transformations that are required from non-human readable into human readable data, from dates into durations, from numbers into calculations or metrics, all these types of things, translations from numbers into texts. These kinds of things can take place during the transformation process, also the enrichment with various other computations and calculations. And all that data is loaded into one single reporting database. So all your reporting data is stored from various sources, is stored into one reporting database. And on top of that reporting database sits a universe layer. That universe layer allows the report builders to create reports directly on the reporting database. Now, all this takes place in an automated fashion, in the sense that within that one tool, that SMI data designer tool, it's simply a question of selecting the fields from the source systems that you want to use for reporting, adding any computations, calculations, and then when you generate the reporting model, it will generate automatically the ETL process. It will generate reporting database or update the reporting database, and it will generate that universe layer. That all takes place with one push of a button. Now, I think it's important to understand that the reporting database is not a data warehouse, in the sense that it does not, by default, store historical snapshots of data and adds onto it. It's a representation of the operational data, the actual data in the source systems. So basically, with a set interval, like twice an hour or every 15 minutes or once a day, depending on the type of source, you will synchronize the reporting database with the source systems, so that the reporting database always reflects reality. And based on that reality come the reports. Now, as I said, for various source systems, we have out-of-the-box models. These out-of-the-box models come with startup reports. Obviously, it's also very easy to create your own reports based on that. There's also other ways of showing the data, of presenting the data to the end user, to the community, in the form of dashboards that are also based on the same data in the reporting database, and using reports as the basis, in the form of reports that are sent out through the distribution layer automatically in PDF format, in Excel format, or in the format of the tool itself. And then there's also the mobile capabilities of the tool, where you can view reports, interact with reports, do dashboards, interact with dashboards through mobile devices, BlackBerry, Android, and iOS. So really that's the high-level architecture. So I think what is important to take away from this is that the reporting database is not a data warehouse, but reflects the reality of the source systems, and is updated with a set interval. Also, I think it's very important to understand that the good thing of this is that your reporting environment does not have to contain all the data from your source systems, just the data that is required for reporting. That makes it lighter, and it makes it also easier for end users to create reports because they have less data to choose from. Very, very easy to add on to this, to change the reporting model and add additional fields to that. Okay, before I go to the next slide, let's see if there are any questions. Which there are not at the moment, so again, I'll just continue. So that's the high-level architecture. Next slide is the technical infrastructure. I'll go through this very quickly. I think it's important to understand that source databases running on a database server or on a cluster have their own, or various clusters have their own servers. The reporting database is also a database. It's a Microsoft SQL Server database that obviously can run on the same cluster or on the same database server. It's just to understand that it's a separate database. SMI Data Designer that runs on the, let's say, the reporting server, gets its data from the source database and writes it to the reporting database. It's important to understand that we only have read access to the source database, get data through SMI Data Designer, and store it in our own reporting database. And then the reporting server, which SMI Data Designer usually runs on, is one and the same Windows server system that also hosts SMI Analytics, which is the reporting front end, if you will. Usually that's also the same server, although sometimes a separate web server is used for that. And the reporting audience either get reports directly from SMI Analytics by logging into the tool, viewing reports, interacting with reports, refreshing reports depending on the rights that they have on their authorizations. And they can also be pushed reports through the scheduling and publication engine that is included. So that's the technical infrastructure. This can run inside one environment within one customer, but it can also run over various environments, go through firewalls if so desired, and people can use it outside of a domain. Lastly, slide about data enrichment. There's various ways of enriching the data that you get from your source system. We can, during load time, meaning during the synchronization run that takes place, let's say once an hour, twice an hour, we can add various computations, calculate the duration for a specific record, add date parts for specific dates, determine if a record is breached or non-breached, things like that all take place during the load sequence. You can also, although I said in the introduction that it's not a data warehouse, it is possible to create historical snapshots. For example, register every day at 5 o'clock how many incidents there are open, with what status and what owner team they have, if that's something that you would be interested in from a historical perspective, to get a trend, for example. That's possible as well. Then the reporting universes, so that semantic layer that lies on top of the reporting database, can also be enriched with various metrics. And these metrics are calculated query time, meaning when you run a report, which means it's possible to calculate averages, percentages, things like that, because it goes over a set of records here during query rather than individual records during the load of the data. And then obviously you can create all other types of calculations and computations on report or on dashboard level with the data that is received or retrieved into the reports. That's the data enrichments. 3 steps where you can add various computations and metrics to the reporting model. Okay, that concludes my so let's go into the actual into the actual tool itself. And I'll start with showing 2 startup reports. There we go. So the first thing that you have to do when you want to create reports or view reports is log into the system. That also determines what rights you have, which reports you can see, what data you are allowed to see, what processes, etc. Right now I am an administrator. So excuse me, again, when I log in, I end up in my, this is a personal choice, in my document view, where I have various folders that contain subfolders and eventually contain reports. And I go through that. So if I go to the SMI startup reports, you can see we have various startup reports for various tools. This is just a small part of it. I'll focus on the Cherwell reports. So we have various startup reports for Cherwell as well. Let's go into these demo reports, which also come out of the box, by the way. And there's 2 of those reports that I want to show. One is the incident backlog rolling 6-month report, which basically is a report that shows for a period of 6 months preceding the current month how many incidents were open at the beginning of the reporting period, how many incidents were registered, and how many incidents were closed each of the consecutive months, and what the backlog was that was carried over to the next month. Now this is demo data that we're looking at, so it's not it's a small amount of data. It's the standard Cherwell demo set. The only thing that's been changed is that the dates have been made more actual, but otherwise it's just out of the box demo data. So it's a small amount of data, and we can see broken down by the affected service in an incident with the service how many incidents we had open at the beginning of this reporting period, how many were newly created for each month, how many were closed, and what the resulting backlog was. And the backlog is shown in green if it's stayed the same or decreased, and it's shown in red if it's actually increased. And I can show that same data, but also the line indicating what the actual backlog development is. I can show that same data in a chart. Now this is a slightly interactive report in the sense that I have a priority selector here, and by clicking on one of these priorities, I can filter the report for specific priority. So if I want to look at priority 3, for example, just by clicking on that, the report is now updated, and it's only showing data for priority 3 or for priority 4 in this case. So again, only a small amount of data, but this is type of reports that you can expect with the tool that come out of the box. It's very easy to change these reports and modify them to suit your own needs. What you can see here is, and that applies to most reports, is that there are various tabs. So this report also has a breakdown by category, for example, where I can show the data by category, and every report will have a summary where we will have some overall data as well as a report description and the definitions that were used, because I think we think it's crucial that the people providing the reports use the same definitions and way of looking at things as the people receiving the reports. This is sometimes something that is left out or ignored. So this is a good way of making sure everyone is looking at the same thing and drawing the same conclusions. So this is one example. Another example of a report is this work time versus pending time report, which is more interactive than this first one. So this one is empty right now. There's no data in here. Let me just refresh that against the reporting database. Go back for a period of 6 months. There we go. So what does this report show? Work time versus pending time. It shows me, and I can show that here in this chart, in this area chart, the total work time in days versus the total pending time days for incidents. So we can see here that in December of last year, the blue area, which is total work time, was much larger, and we can see that in January, actually there was a lot of pending time for incidents as compared to the other months. So this is the overall data. It's for the entire data set. Also, if we go further down, we can see the total number of incidents per month, and we can see in this red line the average work time. So we can see if the work time of incidents on average has increased or decreased over time. And this report here shows the average work time and the average pending time in the blue and the orange column. And the red line shows the overall averages of work time and pending time. So you can see by month where it really differs from the average. Now the interactive thing here is that, for example, on the left-hand side here, I have this input control, which is basically a filter that the end user can use. They can say, okay, I'm specifically interested right now in IT service desk related incidents. Well, see, there's not much left if I click on that. So let me try something else. Desktop management, for example, we can see they didn't have any pending time, just work time. You can also see that these other filters here, category, configuration item, owned by team, are also limited now based on the selection here. So I can drill even further down. I can see that it's filtered for first level support, for desktop management, and if I want to drill further down and look specifically at computer, then now I have filtered it for computer as well. So the good thing of this is, apart from the fact that it is interactive, is that you can create one report that you can send out to various customers or to various stakeholders. They can do their own filtering. It's also possible to automatically filter these reports for specific recipients so that you schedule it and it's published automatically with some of these filters already preset for the end user or for the recipient of the report. So it means less reports, less maintenance, and people can interact with these reports themselves. So that's another example of one of the startup reports. Excuse me. Let me just very quickly have a look to see if there are any questions. I think we can continue from here. Now what I want to show you is the ease with which you can create your own reports. So let's say I wanted to have an overview of the number of currently open incidents by owner team, the team that is to which the incidents are currently assigned. Then in this case I would go into applications. Well, actually, what I'll do. Okay, so let me just minimize this and actually do that on the rich client. We're looking at the Java client. Okay, so I'll create a new report based on a reporting universe, and you can see, by the way, that's also possible to create reports on an Excel spreadsheet, for example, or even combine data from reporting universes and Excel spreadsheets in one report. Okay, so the actual reporting universe I'm using is from this set of Cherwell universes that I have here. It's from the incident management universe. So any new report that you would create, you would use one of these universes. On the left hand side you can see grouped by classes and subclasses the so-called reporting objects that are available for reporting. So if I want the report, like I mentioned before, the number of open incidents by owner team, what I need, the data that I have, is the fact that I want my groups owned by team. So it's just a question of double clicking that and it's in there. I want number of incidents, which is under calculations. There we go. And I want the fact that these incidents are open. Now, this is a filter. In this case, I'll apply a filter on the status. And there's obviously other ways of determining whether an incident is open or not, but this is a good way. So selecting status, just drag that into the query filter pane, and I'm excluding one or a number of statuses from the list. Now, I select not in list from here. I can actually get a list of values, and I can see the statuses that are available in my reporting database, and I can exclude closed. I could also exclude resolved, for example. If resolved is considered to be non-open, then I can exclude that as well. So this is the whole query: owner team, number of incidents, and the fact that these incidents are not open. And when I run this query, I get a report with the data results. Now, because this is a demo database, there's a couple of issues. One is that there's a number of incidents that actually don't have a team, where the team is null. There's also one incident where the team value is not so much null, but it's like a space or something. I need to clean that up a little bit, but this is what I start. So if I want to clean this up and, for example, say, okay, if this is empty, then just replace that with the no team value, for example. So I'll just create a new variable, which I call owner team. And I can say if is null owned by team, or owned by team is equal to quote, then I'll replace that with no team. Otherwise, just show the team. There we go. So this is my formula. If the by team value is empty, null, or if it's really empty, then show no team, else show the team itself. So it's a question of just replacing this, and now you can see it's grouped and the value no team is shown. So let me add to this a sum. Let me add to this a percentage. Put this percentage here and just delete this row. There we go. And then lastly, I also want to show this data in a chart. So let's add a pie chart to this. I put my owner team in there. I'll put the number of incidents in there. There we go. I just want to add percentage to that. So I'm going to format chart. We'll show the data labels on the outside. Data type automatic. Well, it will automatically in this case turn it into a percentage, but if I want to make sure, I can select percentage, and then I'll make it look a little bit more flashy by adding maybe a glossy effect to it and some lighting. Okay, there we go. So now we have the same data that we have the table also in a chart. So with just a couple of clicks of the mouse, I've created this report. I can now save this report. I can schedule this report. Obviously, I would make it look a little bit better and add a header and a footer and maybe some branding. I can also use templates for that. But otherwise, I can just schedule this report to be sent out every Monday morning, 7 o'clock, to the team managers to have an overview of what that looks like. Okay, so that's how we can create a new report. So let me just close this one. The next thing I want to show is that data can be combined from various sources. So if we look, for example, at the configuration management universe for Cherwell, which is this one. If I open the outline here, see that this is data coming from Cherwell, but at the bottom here there is a class called HP Asset Manager Asset, where there is some data from HP Asset Manager also available in this same configuration item universe. That data is joined on universe level, so in the reporting model, by asset tag. So me as a user, when I create a report, I don't have to worry or think about how I'm actually joining that data. It's been predefined in the reporting universes, and I can just simply combine data from HP Asset Manager with my configuration item data from Cherwell. Just exactly the way that that I showed you in the previous example. So if I want to add asset tag and friendly name, for example, and I also add the asset label from HP Asset Manager and maybe the purchase date, I can just put that in. Now, if I run this query, it will show me all assets from Cherwell and the related data from HP Asset Manager. Because this universe is focused on Cherwell data. So the perspective is from Cherwell with added HP Asset Manager data. It could also be the other way around, obviously, where I have Asset Manager data and want to show where this same Asset Manager data is reflected in Cherwell. So then the join would be the other way around from a query perspective. In this case, when I run this query, I get all the data from Cherwell, and where there is related asset data, there we go. In Asset Manager, it is shown in this report. Yeah. So there's also one example report that I created for that, and let me just open that from the central repository. So that's over here in revolutionise management. This is a report that's called CIs with contract expiration in the current year. So this shows data. Total number of assets is 714. That's coming in from Asset Manager. 637 of these don't have an actual maintenance contract or other contract related to it. 74 are under a continuing contract, and 3 of those assets have an expiring contract in the current year, and that's shown here in this chart as well. And then in this detail overview, it shows me the data from Cherwell. So this is the Cherwell data, and then related to it the Asset Manager data, what the contract is, which these CIs exist, and when that contract is end date is, what the renewal notice date is for each of these contracts. So this is an example of how data from two sources can be combined. Okay, I can see that there's a couple of questions. Let me just deal with those at the end after my my last part of the presentation, which is excuse me, which is some dashboards, and I'll deal with those questions. Okay, so let me just close this reporting client and go back here. Some dashboards. There's 2 dashboards I want to show. And I have to mention that the data that we saw earlier was the Cherwell demo data. The dashboards are actually fed with customer data, but since that's not entirely anonymized, that data is only used for the for a dashboard. So you cannot see from which customer it is, but it is actual data. So this is an example of a so-called service performance dashboard, and this service performance dashboard shows data mainly for two KPIs. One is first line fix rate, the other one is SLA breach rate. It shows me for this selected month here, which is March of the current year, how many incidents we had overall, almost 18,000. How many were breached? Almost 3,000. How many were first line fixes? 12,500. And what the percentage was compared to that overall number. And that's shown in these gauges, where there's a color coding used to indicate if the SLA breach rate and the overall fix rate is good or not so good. So we can see here for the first line fix rate, for example, that everything from 80% onward is considered good. Everything between 70–80% is considered a warning, and everything below 70%, which this is 69.8, is red. And for breach rate, it's the other way around. 10% breaches is good. 10 to 20% is yellow, and everything above 20% breached is shown in red. And I can see the absolute numbers here at the bottom, broken down by service or service grouping for each of these of the last 6 months. So this is the total number of first line fixes, and I can also switch to SLA breaches, the total number. Now I can use this drill filter here, this priority selector, to filter the report for specific priorities. So I can drill down, as I said, just show the overall value, and it's also possible to look at other months. So go back to see what, for example, in November of last year, the overall values were and the SLA breach rate was. also by priority or by the various priorities rather. So this is the highest level. This is the overall data. Now, if I go to the next tab, I can see this broken down by service group. Again, with a priority filter, and it shows me by service group the breach rate and the first line fix rate. I can even go a little bit further from here and zoom in on a specific service. Say, go to filter by service. Say I want interested here in the SAP service where the values are not so good. I can go into filter by service, which brings me to another tab. Go to SAP service, and then see the development over the last 6 months of the first line fix rate and the SLA breach rate, both the trend, which is the solid line, and the actual values. And I can switch these off to just show the trend, for example. And then if I even want to know more, I can click on this button here, drill to detail report. I won't do that now, also because of the details, and show details for these specific services. Eventually, if I drill totally down, if I go through this entire process, I end up with individual records that make up for that performance. There's really a way of going from the very highest level, drilling further down into the very lowest level. Now, one last dashboard I want to show is this business value dashboard. So this goes even higher. This actually combines data from various sources. On the left-hand side, we can see the Net Promoter Score for the last 3 years in our area of the world, which is tech vendors. It shows the in orange the highest performer, in red the lowest performer, and the blue line is us, is a virtual company, it's a demo company. This is how we were performing. This is our internal customer satisfaction rate broken down by business team. Then on the right hand side I have some project management office data. So this is the project management office performance for the last 13 months as far as schedule, budget and scope is concerned. This is the average project duration in working days, where you can see that the trend is going down. And then we have some incident-related data, SLA performance for the last 13 months, for example, broken down by priority, in time to repair, broken down by priority, and I can, as I said, switch various values off, zoom in on specifically critical and high priority incidents, for example. And then there's a list here or a scorecard here that shows me lost production. This is actually a KPI that comes with the tool that obviously will have to be tailored to the specific needs of an organization, but it calculates the outage of incidents based on impact and urgency, the number of so the amount of the outage time, the amount of people that were involved in this, or that couldn't work or could only partly work. So there's a number of input parameters there that you can change, and that leads to a so-called lost production day rate, which is not really anything real, but it's an indicator of how much production loss we have based on incidents. And there's actually a financial loss linked to this, saying a lost production hour costs on average costs this, so lost production days times that means this is the amount of financial loss that we incurred due to the various incidents. That's a way of turning IT data into business value related data. Okay, so that really concludes the demo part of this. So let's have a look at the questions. Let me just open the question pane here. So 2 questions I have. First one is, how does it handle reporting on multiple KPIs? So perhaps a monthly departmental report that covers a number of areas like incident change, config, etc. Well, what I showed in the demo up till now was that you get data from one reporting universe and put that in a report. It's also possible to retrieve data from various reporting universes into one report and showing the results of these queries, so various KPIs for various processes or for various data sources or a combination of those, shows that on one same report. And you can use various filters and interactive bits and pieces on that report, but really there's no limit to what data you can get from what sources onto one single report, whether that be in various different report elements or even in combined tables, combining by month the incident KPIs, the problem KPIs, and the change KPIs. So that's very well possible. Another question is, do you have options for including a commentary in a report that's going to be distributed in, say, PDF format? The answer is yes. I think I also showed on the first demo report that all of these reports have a summary tab, which is at the end, but you could also add that at the beginning with the summary. But it's also possible to add text to the report itself, text blocks, marks, and show that on the report itself. So that's definitely possible. Okay. If there are any other questions, now is the time to ask them. Yes, go ahead. Okay. Then if there aren't any other questions, I would very much like to thank you for your attention. I'm going to ask Jane if she has some last words that she wants to share.
I'd just like to say thank you very much for doing that for us today. And if you think of any questions after the session, you know, when you've gone offline and gone back to your desks and had a chat about it, please just be in touch. You have all my contact information, and I in turn can get that information and questions to Jack. So again, just to reiterate what Jack said, thanks very much for your time today and taking part in the webinar.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks to you, Jack.
Thanks.
Thank
okay.
you.
Have a very good day. Bye-bye.